Hi everybody, welcome. It's Scarlet Pete Self-Sufficiency and I'm on a knitting series thing again. Today I am going to show you the start to finish in sections of knitting a garment. And the garment is called Tabatha tabard, and if you've been watching my channel or my Facebook group, you will see pictures of one I've recently done for a customer, and everybody loved it so much they wanted to know how I did it. So I'm going to show you right now. I better stop doing it and not telling you what to do. So let me tell you what I'm going to do. First of all, I need to find out how many stitches and things I need to write my pattern with. I've drawn a little diagram of my measurements for the pattern that I want here. It's basically a front and back with slightly shaped shoulders because I didn't like the last one being so square, a small rib welt on the bottom, and just a front and a back stitched together, a tabard. So to do this, first of all, we need to find the tensions so we can find out how many needles to do. So we knit a sample, and that is called a tension swatch. It is a piece of knitting that is measured with a special ruler, shush you lot, special ruler, and on a chunky machine, which is what I'm using today, we use a blue ruler. If we were doing this on a standard gauge machine, we would use a green one, and there is a yellow one for the mid gauge. I'm going to do a quick E-wrap cast on, and if you don't know how to do that, just refer back to one of my other videos because they will show you how. And the measurement is taken between 30 rows of knitting and 20 stitches. Now we can't just knit 30 rows and 20 stitches because that will roll in on all directions, so we're going to knit extra. So let me get on and let's do, instead of 20 stitches, we're going to do 30 stitches in total. So I'm just doing a quick E-wrap, which is a selvage cast on, which means it's not going to come undone. Not from this direction anyhow. And I'm just doing this because I'm too lazy to get my weaving brushes out and put into my brother machine here. But you could do that if you wanted to. But this is quite a quick cast on. Right, I've failed once already. I started to use a much thicker yarn and my machine, even though it was chunky, it couldn't cope with it. So what I've done is taken one colour in double knit of white and one strand of double knit in the brown here. And I put both of those into my feeder and using them as if they are one piece of yarn. So to start this off, I'm going to do a little section of knitting in the yarn that I'm using. That's really important before I mark my allocated stitches I measure over. The first row is always horrible. So I'm just going to pull all my stitches out and knit the second row, and that's much easier. But for some reason, I've dropped a couple of stitches. So let me just pick these stitches up. Now, if this happens and you drop a stitch, you just go down below there. You stick the needle in the knot below. Pick that up onto the needle. And we're just going to knit that, with the yarn left that wasn't knitted. I don't know why that's done that. Maybe I have a couple of bent needles. If that does it regularly, then I'll have to investigate and say, what's going on? Because that is 3 needles there I've had drop. Right, just check nothing's stuck behind the sinker hooks. Just going to pull that out. I might have to use, in a moment, some weights if that doesn't behave. Let's get some weights out. I'm going to put 2 weights on each side just to pull that down out of the way. That's on that side. And if you put weights on your tension swatch, you're going to need weights on your work as well. Because whatever you do to your work, you have to do to your tension swatch, or the other way around. Right, I've knitted about that much of yarn first. I'm going to need a contrasting colour now, taking these out of the feeder. Oops, put that out of the way. See why that's catching up, don't catch up. And I need a different colour, which I'm just going to go get. I've got some pink here that I'm just going to hand feed in and knit across 2 rows. It's a bit of hand knitting. Take that out. Now we're at the point now where we're going to knit the piece of yarn, the piece of work that we're going to measure. So I'm going to put the row counter back to 0, row counter switch on, so that it lever on, so it will click and knit for us, count our rows knitted. And I'm going to knit 10 rows. 1, 2, 3. Checking those end stitches. I'm just going to loosen some yarn off here because this is out of the centre of a ball that I've just wound, and it can be a bit tight in the centre. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Still a bit tight in the centre. 9, 10. Now this will give us a nice variegated stitch yarn. Oops, we've got it stuck on a hook there. Oh dear, just pulled a load of stitches off. Let me just put my stitches back on. I'm back. Picked up those stitches. They got caught on the gate pegs here, and when I pulled it off I didn't do a very good job. Right, so I've knitted 10 rows and I want to mark the place I'm going to measure in between. So I'm going to measure 20 stitches, so that means the 11th stitch I'm going to put this marker on here. I'm going to just knit that by hand, 11 and 12, and I'm going to knit 11 and 12 on this side, so I have a place to measure between, knowing my blue ruler will do its magic stuff between those and do my calculations for me. Another 10 rows. 1, 2. It's a bit tight still because we're coming out the centre of those balls, but it'll loosen off. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And yet again we've got it caught up on the gate hooks. Fixed it. Right, now then, another piece of fluorescent pink times 2. 2 more bits. 1, 2. It's a bit cold here today, so I've got my thick woolly jumper on. And if you can hear any noises in the background, that's the new puppy play fighting, which she seems to do constantly. Spent all day getting the room safe for her, so I can knit and not have to watch her. So I've marked number 11 and 12 and 11 and 12 on each side. So I've got the 10 rows, 10 stitches each side, which make 20. There in the middle. Just got a little bit of a loop there to fix. I don't know why, I just don't get on with chunkies that well. Right, another 10 rows. Rows, so that's brought us to our 30, so that is the rows we're going to be measuring between. So I need to put 2 rows in of my alternative colour, just feeding that in by hand. 1, 2, take that out, snap it off, put it to one side, and I'll knit another 5 or 6 rows in the main yarn. Now because my yarn is short, as in I don't have so much to knit the garment with, I'm not going to break this. Normally I would break this off and I would use the tension swatch for any stitching up that needed doing, but today I'm not going to take the risk of not having enough yarn, so I'm just going to throw it off the machine and not break it, because that will be wound back onto the knit again. Right, I threw it off and we have got a rather bright, unusual coloured, variegated yarn here. So what we're going to do now, I stretched that and I didn't tell you what I was doing, bad on me. What do? You take it off the machine and you stretch it like that. Then you stretch it back again and you just give it a bit of a rub, and basically you leave it stand for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to drink another cup of tea because my glass is empty, and I'll be back in a bit See you in a minute. I'm back, and it's been about 20 minutes. So I've got my swatch here, which has rested. Why did we leave it 20 minutes? Because the machine yarn will relax and take its shape, because if you didn't pull it when it came off the machine, it would give you a false reading. And when you pulled it and fiddled with it and loosened it all back up again like that, it needs to just rest and take shape. I have here my pattern I've written, my measurements, which we're going to do our calculations on. I've got a pen ready. Now I need to write down first of all that this was taken on, knitted on a tension dial 8. Don't want to forget that. Now we're going to find out how many stitches make 1 centimetre, and this is where this magic ruler comes in. So let me see if you can see this. I've got the stitch side. I've got here the marking. In between those pink stitches is the point we're going to measure between. That is the 20 stitches. So in between those, so pink stitch to pink stitch, but within it, that is telling me 12 stitches measure. So let's put down here 12 stitches, and let's turn it over and measure the other side with the R side. We're going to go in between, so that's the 30 rows we knitted. We're going to go in between those pink rows. We're going to measure 22. Let's just check that. Yes, there we go. It went to here, which is 22 rows. So let's write that down. 22 rows. That's the dog making noises, not my stomach. 22 rows. Oh, 1 minute, she's got my boot. I need to go get it off her. Who would have a puppy in the house with a knitting machine? If you want to know her story, have a look on my page about Amstaff Rescue. She's a rescued little pup. Going back to the tension swatch. So, and I need to keep that out of her way because she'll nick that. I've never met a puppy with so much energy. Right. Here we have the measurements we've just taken. These are the golden measurements. To make them... Oi, come out of there with all that yarn. Come on out. Behave yourself. To make this able to tell you, this is what 10 centimetres equals now. We want to know what 1 centimetre equals, so we need to go with a dot, a decimal point goes in between them. So 1.2 stitches equals 1 centimetre. 2.2 rows equals 1 centimetre. So now all I have to do, I want this garment 53 centimetres wide here. So I need to get that measurement by going 53 centimetres times 1.2 stitches. And then we divide that in half, which then gives us the measurement we need. So can you see 53 times 1.2, whatever that equals, we'll do the maths in a minute. They divide that by 2, so that will give you how many stitches to put each side to create your knitting. And that symbol there here is each side of the centre mark. Now we want it also to be 42 centimetres long. So this is stitches and this is rows. We want it to be 42 centimetres long, so we need to times that by 2.2 rows. And that will tell us the row counter that we need to finish up on the top. We need to find out the measurement here that we want for the depth of neck and do exactly the same thing and write down that point. And we need to know the shoulder measurement and all of that. But that I will show you on the next stage of the series. how to write the pattern. This was just the starting point for you. So this has been rather a long video on how to get your tension swatch done. I will join you in the next one, writing the pattern up clearly on a table so you can see exactly how the maths is done. Please like, subscribe and share, and give me a comment so I know you're there. Always makes me feel good when I get comments. Lots of love to you. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.